In this module, we are going to learn navigation patterns inside MVVM Prism. In normal Xamarin Forms MVVM based application, when we want to navigate from one page to another, then we use iNavigation interface with the push async method. But in case of MVVM Prism, we don't use this approach. Rather, we have a better approach and we are going to implement this in our application. So let's jump back to the Visual Studio. And now I'm going to add another page. So let's right click on the views folder and then add a new Prism content page. Let's change the name of this page to home page. Alright, let's add it. This page has been added inside our Xamarin Forms application. Now let's jump towards the welcome page view model, and there I'm going to add a property of type iNavigation service. And then name this property to navigation service. Now in the constructor of this view model, I'm passing the iNavigation service interface. And then just assign this parameter to this property so that we can access the methods and properties along with this navigation service. Alright, if I right click on this iNavigation service and go to the definition, then you will see that this iNavigation service contains all the methods that are part of MVVM Prism navigation engine. Well, right now I'm going to use this navigate async method. So let's go back to the welcome view model, and inside this login method, let's use this navigation service. And then let's call the navigate async method. And there are different overload of this method. Right now I'm going to use this navigation async method that takes a string parameter. Well, this string parameter means that we need to specify the target where we want to navigate to. In our case, we want to navigate to the home page, but unlike normal Xamarin Forms application, we are not going to instantiate the page object. All we need to do is just pass the name of our page. In our case, the name of the page is home page. So I'm going to pass the name here. Now if I run this application, then you will see this button on this welcome page. And if I tap this button, then it will take me to the home page. Alright, that's awesome. The navigation is working properly inside the Prism application. As always, if you want to remove this navigation bar from the welcome page, then simply add navigation page dot has navigation bar equals false inside the welcome page dot XAML file. And if we run this application again, then this time you will see that we don't have any navigation bar on this welcome page. Alright, that's awesome. Now in the next module, we will learn how to pass the parameters to the next page by using MVVM Prism application. I will catch you in the next module. In this module, we will learn how to pass the parameter from one page to another via MVVM Prism. So let's start our work. Let's add an entry control inside the welcome page. And then let's set the placeholder to enter welcome message. Now what I'm trying to do is, whenever we enter the message in this entry and press this button, then it will take us to the home page along with this message. So let's try to implement this feature. Let's jump back to the welcome page view model, and there I'm going to add a property with the snippet prop full and hit tab. Then I'm going to change the return type, and similarly I'm going to name this to welcome message. Now let's try to bind our entry text property with this welcome message. So let's copy this property and then let's switch to the welcome page, and there I'm going to bind this entry text property with this welcome message that comes from the welcome page view model. Alright. Now inside this login method, we have this navigation async method, and that takes our view name. Now the question is how to send the parameter from one view to another view. Well, if we go to the official documentation of the Prism, then it's clear the Prism navigation service also allows you to pass parameters to the target view during the navigation process. Passing parameters to the next view can be done using an overload of iNavigationService.navigateAsync method. This overload accepts a navigation parameters object that can be used to supply data to the next view. The navigation parameters object is in fact just a dictionary. It can accept any arbitrary object as a value. And this is the code for navigation and sending parameters. So let's understand this code. First, we will try to instantiate this navigation parameters class, and then we will add our parameter or object along with some unique key. And then we just pass this navigation parameter inside this navigation async method. Let's try to implement this inside our application. So let's jump back to the Visual Studio, and there I'm going to instantiate the navigation parameters class. And then I'm going to call this add method that takes two parameters. The one is the key and the second is the value. Let's name our key to parameter. You can name it whatever you want, and then just pass the value here. Well, I want to pass this welcome message here. Now the one last step is just pass this navigation parameter in this navigation async method. Alright, here we go. Now the question is how to receive the values on the next page. For example, right now we are sending the value inside this welcome page view model. Now on the home page view model, we will accept the values. So what I'm gonna do is I'll switch to the home page view model, and there I'm going to implement iNavigation aware interface. And this interface adds two methods to our view model. So we can intercept when the view model is navigated to or navigated from. Now let's add a breakpoint with this onNavigatedTo method. Let me explain you the functionality of these functions. In normal Xamarin Forms application, we have two methods. The one is onAppearing and the second is onDisappearing in your code behind file. Well, similarly in MVVM Prism, we have two methods. The one is onNavigatedTo and the second is onNavigatedFrom. OnNavigatedTo is called when we come to this view model, and onNavigatedFrom will be executed when we went back from this view model. Alright, as you know, when we send the parameters from the welcome page view model, then it will take us to the home page view model, and we will write our code inside this onNavigatedTo method. And then let's run this application. And now I'm going to write something in this entry. And when I press this button, then you will see that the following breakpoint will be triggered, and here you will see that we are receiving this value that we have sent. Well, that's awesome. But you can see that we are getting the key as well as the value in the navigation parameter. So how to separate this? Well, first of all, let's use these parameters and then just add square brackets. And within the square brackets, I'm going to use the same key that we have used in the welcome view model. So let's copy the key and paste it here. Alright, now you will see an error. And that's because we need to assign this to some other variable. So let's resolve this by simply assigning this to a variable. I'm gonna name this variable to message, and here we go. Now let's add a breakpoint and run this application. Well, this time if we enter some value in the entry and press this button control, then this breakpoint will be triggered, and there you will see that now we are getting this value against this key. Alright, that's awesome. Now we are going to display this value inside our XAML page. So what I'm gonna do is, I'll add a property and name it message. Now let's jump back to the homepage.xaml, and there I'm going to add a label and then just bind the text property of this label with the message property that comes from this home page view model. Alright, let's bind this message property here. And now I'm going to run this application one more time. So after passing the text in this entry, if I tap this button, then you will see that on this home page we are getting this text that comes from the previous page. Alright, that's awesome. The navigation works perfectly, and we have successfully achieved the navigation module via MVVM Prism. See you guys in the next section.